Well, that's right. Hello and welcome to another profitable time on radio. I'm Kayode Okikilu. I'd like to start off today's show with a special message. So I'm starting different today. And I have a special message to any business owner, employer, or employee who's listening to me right now. And the message is, you are amazing. Thank you for your resilience through these very challenging times. Clearly, COVID-19 is not just a public health pandemic. It has turned out to be an economic pandemic as well. And business owners really know how difficult it has been running their businesses. I'm talking raw materials, running costs, paying workers, and the rest. And not to talk of the consumers who have had their fair share as well. So it's only fair and proper to say kudos to you. For what it's worth, we are all in this together. And guess what? We'll get out of this together. So the big question is, how can we get out? Well, you want to stick around to find out one of those routes on the program today. If this is your first time on the show, I say a big welcome to you. You're just in time for another episode of the Financial Literacy Program brought to you by the Bankers Committee. I personally call it the Entrepreneur's Masterclass on radio. Well, the goal of the Bankers Committee and its partners is to provide vital business information to SMEs and entrepreneurs so you can grow in whatever industry you're in for your benefit and the nation's economy at large. Truth is, we've been having amazing discussions. Last week we had an amazing time demystifying the export potentials of Nigeria and how your business can be a part of that. So if you missed out on that conversation, not to worry. I'll tell you how you can catch up on it and previous ones in a moment. But first, let me unveil our discussion for today. That's right. And trust me when I say you do not want to miss any moment of it. So sit back, relax, whatever you're doing, get comfortable as we dive right into this. It's rather a cliche now to say that businesses are facing challenges. I mean, it's evident in every sphere. Everyone can see it. But do you know that you can do more and even bounce back better? The question is how? Well, you can do that by exploring stronger value chains in the various business sectors. Yes, you heard me right. Stronger value chains. Oh, you'll love this, I promise. Now, I've got three amazing panelists today, and just before you meet them, by the way, they are roaring to get into this conversation, would like to meet you, our listener, as well. We want to hear from you. So we welcome your questions, contributions, and here's how you can be a part of the conversation today. If you're on Instagram, head over to @Bankers Committee FLPE. That's the handle you're looking for on Instagram, @Bankers Committee FLPE. Bankers, as it is spelled, committee with a double M, double T, double E, and FLPE. We have posts regarding this conversation, so you can put your comments and questions right under this post, and you can send us DM. Guys, we're expecting DMs, right? So yes, send us those DMs and we'll definitely get to respond. But if you're on WhatsApp, you can send your questions and comments to this number, 0706 449 8228. The number to send your questions and comments to on WhatsApp is 0706 449 8228. Please, no calls, just text messages. But that's not all. You can also join us online and get access to previous episodes and other helpful content at smegrowth.ng. That's www.smegrowth.ng as it is spelled. So those are the channels you can use to get to us, and we definitely would be relating with you as well. So let's get right into it. And I'd like to introduce my guests, the panelists this afternoon, who are experts in their field. I have joining us today Mr. Obaro Osa, who is a divisional head, SME South Bank of Industry. It's great to have you on the program, Mr. Osa.
It's great to be here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And Mr. Olufunwa Akimade is Unity Bank's Directorate Head, Retail SME and E-Business. Mr. Akimade, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Pleasure is mine.
And last but not least, Mr. Ajibola Majalagbe is representative of Accelerex Network, a key player in the financial inclusion services sector. Mr. Majalagbe, great to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, gentlemen, let's get right into it. And I'd like us to start off with the elephant in the room. Value chain. It seems like a complex term, but is it really complex? Mr. Osa, I'd like you to, break it down for us.
It is not. I want to define it from two concept perspective. You either looking forward, so forward integration, or you're looking backward, which is backward integration. Now, if you are looking forward, it means that you're trying to move from primary to secondary. If you're looking backwards, it means that you're trying to move from secondary back to primary. That is the way it grows. And what is the purpose of value chain? It's a model, it's a business model that describes all the activities and the full range of activities involved to create a product or a service in such a way that you are looking at effective cost management, you are looking at specialization, you are looking at producing more optimization, and of course, the overall impact of that is that you grow your GDP, you grow your GNP, you grow your product, you earn more revenue, you create more job, you specialize in particular areas. And so you don't be jack of all trades. You focus on a particular aspect of the entire chain. So as you specialize, then you improve in the efficiency, you improve in the processing, the cost comes down. At the end of the day, all of us aggregate ourselves to produce a service or a product for the country. So for SMEs, which is a very critical part, they should think of any business, whether you're into agriculture, whether you're into manufacturing, whether you're into a service. For instance, if you're into furniture manufacturing, what are the people you need around you? You need loggers, people who go to the forest to cut the log. You need people who you haul them from the bush to your factory. You need people who cut them into sizes. You need people who dry them for you. You need designers of furniture or the beautiful furniture you are saying, people do the designing. These are different parts. So it involves having different firms specialize in different areas of a particular product or service. The objective is that specialization brings in knowledge, it brings in skills, it brings in better product and better cost. And so if we look at that, it will be a very good way to move ourselves out of these economic challenges.
Clearly, this is a field you're passionate about.
Yes, so knowledge is critical.
Oh, fantastic.
Skill is critical.
And we'll explore some of these, issues as we move on. Let me bring in Mr. Kimadi and get his opening thoughts. I'm glad Mr. Osa has, expatiated on this, because when people hear value chain, first thing they think about is agriculture, because, naturally people talk about agriculture and its value chain. But value chain is not just for agriculture, is it?
Thank you very much. Value chain applies to anything that has a beginning and an ending. I like what Mr. Osa just said, that there's primary, there's secondary, and there is tertiary. So everything runs through the entire process. So for instance, if you're looking at any business, look at the eatery business for instance. Where does the business start? The fact that you're buying rice or beans to eat, that is not the entire value chain. Somebody provided the food, somebody cooked the food, somebody shipped the food, somebody, after you are done eating the food, there's the waste aspect of the food. Then there are aspects that have to do with packaging, pre-packaging, the restaurant business. So it's important for SMEs to look at the entire value chain. Don't look at just one part of the business that you're doing. So it's not just agri, it cuts down across the line in any area, even areas that have to do with education. So yes, value chain is the end-to-end process that has to do with your business. It doesn't start with you, it doesn't end with you.
Right, so we're talking about sectors like oil and gas, entertainment, fashion, and the rest.
Precisely.
There are value chains involved.
Precisely.
And I'm glad we've opened up this conversation just so that business owners, entrepreneurs can begin to see these value chains. But clearly we have value chains already, but the conversation is around building stronger value chains. So of course we can do more with them. We'll get into those possibilities in a moment, but let me bring in Mr. Majolagbe. When we talk about the financial sector, you operate in a value chain, as it were. So using your experience in that value chain, can you help our listener understand better how this value chain conversation is so important?
Okay, thank you very much. The value chain itself, speaks about you getting maximum value from all the efforts, from all the intercorrelated activities you do. And so this is very, very critical. Relating this to the financial sector, I specifically coming from the angle of agency banking, financial inclusion, our contribution to the value chain of reviving the economy is very, very huge. We still run a largely cash-based economy, and the financial service agents are they're out there, to actually help people You understand? Get people financially included, and when you do that, you're actually contributing to the value chain, because a lot of cash is involved. So most of the times, and you need to migrate some of this money to probably your supplier and your buyers. And when you think about having to go to the bank, run to the bank, from some locations are very quite distant from the bank, you know. So financial service agents are actually present in all in the interlands, in all the locations in the market, and so you can easily get to the financial service agent. It helps you to do your transaction, either you're withdrawing, you're transferring, or consuming any other or doing any other transaction from the agent. That way we're actually contributing to the value chain, because we have actually added value in that process, and we fasten the process, or we have actually mechanized, we've actually simplify the process for the agents.
Fantastic.
So, customers.
I mean, just to bring this together, so you're essentially saying that every sector, as it were, has different value chains, like inbound logistics, you mentioned that, Mr. Osa, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales. I mean, you even have support activities. You talked about primary and secondary, things like procurement, technological management, human resource, and this cuts across every sector. So I'm glad that, we're beginning to see that there are possibilities in each sector. But Mr. Osa, let me take you up on this, because usually what businesses ask first is, yes, they want to create a solution, but there's usually the question about what's in it for me? What's in it for me? So what is the value in having stronger value chains? And I'm talking to the economy, employment, and the rest. What is the value in this conversation to build stronger value chains?
The value is quite simple, because in simple economics, we were told about division of labor. So when you start with that basic or division of labor, it means that every part of that chain does its own bit. And when you aggregate it, it becomes bigger and better. And because you are focusing on a particular aspect, take the auto industry, for instance. What do? They say car assembly. Car assembly means that you are getting people who into plastics, who bring in the items. You get into steel, who bring in this. You get engineers who bring. So everybody comes together. And what the man is just basically doing is to assemble. And that is why the auto industry is a highly specialized area. You can imagine, even when you talk about aircraft, it's not one person. There are different parts of the auto vehicle produced by different people. So it is as simple as that. What it does for you is that you specialize in one aspect. And because you are a specialist and you evolve a better or doing that thing you are known for, the cost per item comes down. You then produce more. You then sell more, so you get more revenue. So when you aggregate those specialists in the micro level, it becomes a bigger macro level. So at the national level, it leads to growth in national income. It leads to a growth in gross domestic product. So it's good for the economy.
Right. So, I'm glad that this is building momentum. But gentlemen, we need to go on a quick break. We'll still talk about some of the applications, other applications to this, how to move into even the global value chains and the rest. And don't forget, we're expecting your questions and contributions via WhatsApp and Instagram. We'll get our panelists to answer those questions, maybe some of those issues you have with value chains and the rest. But we'll be back after this, so to stay with us.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
Are you an SME or business manager trying to find your feet post-COVID? Listen up. The Bankers Committee, in keeping up with its mandate for financial inclusion, presents a 5-week financial literacy radio program to equip you with the skills to thrive in a post-COVID economy. The radio series will focus on SMEs in agriculture, trade and commerce, technology, diaspora remittance, manufacturing, and the export industry, and will feature experts from deposit money banks, development agencies, and successful entrepreneurs who will provide capacity building support for SME growth post-COVID. Weekly topics to be discussed include diaspora remittances and its impact on the Nigerian economy, sustainable economic growth through value addition and exportation, growing the economy through value chain, growth strategy for business post-COVID, proactive strategies for business in recovery. Join the conversation by tuning in every week on Thursday by 4:30 to 5 p.m. on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Bankers Committee, enhancing your business growth.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
Oh, you're welcome back. It is said that SMEs contribute just about 50% of the nation's GDP. But guess what? They can even do much better. And that's what this conversation is centered around this afternoon. I still have gentlemen with me in the studio. Mr. Obaro Osa from the Bank of Industry. Great to have you. As well as Mr. Olufunwa Akimade, who is from Unity Bank. Great to have you. As well as Mr. Ajibola Majolagbe. Thank you so much from Accelerate. So, gentlemen, especially Mr. Osa, you were trying to land on that application of the value of value chains.
I am going to land with a very vivid example. Cocoa is a product from the tropics. So the cocoa in the entire world is produced in Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, accounting for more than 90%. Now chocolate, which is a byproduct of cocoa, is produced in Europe. So every cocoa you sell in Nigeria, the European company producing chocolate earns times 10% of that value. What has happened? They've added value to the raw cocoa. So that expresses a picture of what Nigeria stands to gain if we develop our value chains. Because exporting raw or focusing on primary product does not give enough value. It is where you add value to the primary that, because you apply technology, you're applying processes, you're applying packaging, you then earn a higher value. So chocolates are imported into Nigeria, but the raw material used for producing chocolate is cocoa. It's made in Ondo and Ekiti State. And Ondo and Ekiti State are not getting that kind of value.
You know, interestingly, we had that conversation last week. And in case you missed it, you can get that on the website, which is smegrowth.ng. We have our previous episodes regarding value addition for export. But Mr. Kimade, so let me bring this on. I mean, we've laid it out there, the value chains. So imagine an entrepreneur thinking, okay, I want to pick just inbound logistics or maybe outbound logistics. I mean, I have maybe comparative advantage in that area. I understand the terrains, but don't forget there are challenges, infrastructural challenges, security challenges, and the rest. So how can entrepreneurs essentially prepare for this, sort of cushion themselves from these challenges such that, yes, they are there, but they find their way around it? Because whether you like it or not, we have businesses that are thriving in this context.
Thank you very much. The advice I would give to SMEs is look for the low-hanging fruit. What do we mean low-hanging fruit? If you're doing, I would use an example from Mr. Majalabe's
sector
area. So if you're a financial services agent, a bank agent, immediately you're doing cash in, cash out. There are other value-added services that tie into your business. Don't go and do something that's totally different. Like you mentioned, if you're a businessman who is into logistics and you're still using bikes for your logistics, expand into using tricycles. Don't go straight from bikes into buses. Don't make that leap. So look for the low-hanging fruits, the easy things that you can do to extend your business. So if you are a financial services agent and you're doing cash in, cash out, airtime, pick other bills payment. Allow people to be able to pay their GoTV, DSTV, NEPA bills. So take it a step at a time. So I like to say to any SME, follow the money. But as you're doing so, don't do more than you are prepared to do, because it can be very, 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 very challenging in terms of structure, in terms of organization, in terms of distraction. So if you are doing ABC today, don't jump to G. Just do A, B, C, D, E, F.
Fantastic. Follow the money and don't outdo yourself, as it were. But I mean, some will say it's not bad to aim higher, as it were. So let me come to Mr. Majolagbe. I mean, he referenced your sector, and you follow the money. In fact, you know the trends of the money as well. In that sector, for example, you operate in a major value chain. You connect to the unbanked and the rural areas as well. What are the challenges you faced, and how have you been able to surmount those challenges? Because I think it will be important for businesses listening.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So, taking a cue from what we really do. Thank you, Mr. Olufenwa, for taking a cue from what we do. However, so in our sector, for example, we onboard financial service agents, right? And under the umbrella of SANEF, Shared Agents Network Expansion Facility, and what we do is onboard agents and financial inclusion. We do expansion, and there's a lot of challenges in this because we have a lot of challenges from network. Apart from network challenges in terms of mobility, liquidity management, and all. But what SANEF has been able to do is to create a value for all the agents in terms of onboarding, right. And not just onboarding. What we do also is we do financial literacy to educate the agents so that the challenges they face on the day-to-day activity, they have the needed knowledge to to surmount them. Also, what we do is also we bring businesses to these agents. We bring businesses to them. Some of them might feel, oh, because I'm in the interlands or I'm in a far place, customers are not coming. We have platforms that we use to aggregate.
So structure
agents.
is important.
Yeah, the structure is there.
Okay.
It drives transactions to them, and not just that. We have the sandbox where agents can actually get transactions from other banks. You understand? So they open accounts for beneficiaries, and when we open accounts, of course, the customers you open accounts for will come back to do more transactions with you, and then they get more value from the agent.
So clearly, if you're looking to scale up, build stronger value chains, it needs to be well thought of. You need to have a proper structure such that you don't crumble when you begin to get more weight. Mr. Osa, you work with businesses time and again. I'm sure you've probably lost count of how many businesses you've helped scale up. So I imagine people also thinking, I need help. Who do I walk up to help me, operate better, build myself better in this particular value chain? What is available?
One of the major things that must be addressed is funding, and that is where Bank of Industry comes into play. The Bank of Industry was established by the federal government 62 years ago, essentially to provide value chain services. We basically act or play in the processing of agro commodities, manufacturing, solid minerals, light manufacturing, quality services, and now we've gone into technology, we've gone into creative industries. So anybody involved in value chain business that needs financial support, please come to Bank of Industry. We operate in 30 state offices across the Federation. We're in Abuja, we're in Lagos, and essentially we offer facilities at single digits, better tenure, good moratorium. We can give a facility within 3 to 5 years. We can also give moratorium between 6 months to 12 months. And we also offer financial advisory services. So visit any of our locations or go to our website, www.boi.ng.
How hard is it to access these funds? Because I know that's also another area.
All the requirements for accessing funds and all the requirements you need to give to us before funds are disbursed are all available online and available at each of our state offices.
So these funds
So you
are
visit
available.
us, yes, and we have funds.
Okay, Mr. Akimade, we have this question from Bemi, sending this message from Kwara, and I think it's a very important one. The question is, what is the best approach that will motivate MSMEs to key into their respective value chains? I hope you understand the question.
I understand it, but the question answers itself, because if you're an entrepreneur, you're out to make money. So there's no big motivation than to follow the money. I'm sorry. So what I would say is that the greatest motivation is success. Look for something that you know that you can do, that you can be excellent at, and that you will succeed at, and do not go beyond yourself.
Let me recoin that sort of, and allow everyone to weigh in finally as we round off on the program. What are the sectors that people may have overlooked, or the value chains that people may have overlooked that can actually make us more? And let me begin with Mr. Kimade, and then I'll do this round robin.
I think one of the areas that a lot of people overlook, I don't want to mention any particular area that would get people stuck, but I ask people, what are people doing every day? That is the value chain. People eat every day. People pack rubbish every day. People clear waste every day. People drink water every day. You don't need to look to heaven to make money. What are the basic things that are staring you in the face? The problems that people have: washing their clothes, drying their clothes, getting things done. That is where the value chain starts from. Thank you.
Wow. Mr. Majalagwe, your thoughts before I take Mr. Osa's final thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Another angle people have been overlooking is still the area of financial inclusion. A lot still needs to be done there. Sanif had a target of 500,000 agents, and they met that already. Accelerex Network has about 18,000 active agents, and every day we are onboarding agents. So a lot of value is still in this sector. A lot of people are still on the bank. About 30 million adult Nigerians are on the bank, and so the field is still very much open. People need to look into this. Financial service agents are doing good. Of course, by getting 500,000 active agents, you've created employment for a lot of people, and a lot of them still open many more outlets. And so by this, we're actually reviving the economy. and we're creating job opportunities. So people should look deep down into financial inclusion, not just about the areas that are saturated. Go into the hinterlands, go into the villages, the local government, where there are businesses, where there are markets. There's a lot of opportunity there, and people can really tap into it. You can always reach out to SANEF or reach out to Accelerex Network. You can always become an agent as soon as possible, and then we'll set you up.
I like when you said the opportunities are there. And Mr. Osa, I mean, you have a wide view of these opportunities. So, I mean, give us pointers now, as it were.
Well, it's straightforward. I would say skills and entrepreneurship. As an individual, what are you good at? That only you can answer that question. You must think. Pick a plain paper. Write down 3 things you are good at. And connect those 3 things to a business. And see how you can migrate that. Then visit any of our locations, go to our website, attend seminars, listen, read, ask questions. Skills are what will lead us in the 21st century onwards. So you must learn. You must not stop at asking questions. What you are good at, ask more questions. Look at those who have done well in that subsector. Engage them. Engage mentorship. Focus on entrepreneurship. Attend seminars, and of course, visit any of our bank of industry locations where we can now discuss with you and provide tailor-made services for you at a cheaper cost to enable you bring that dream to life.
Let me squeeze this in. Finally, Mr. Kimade, global value chains. I mean, we've talked about the value chains here, and it seems as though it should be the same thing around. But in 30 seconds, how do we ensure that it's standardized with global value chains such that our product services are easily exportable?
The most important thing if you're going to do the global value chain business is to make sure that you adopt certain standards, ISO 9001 and stuff like that. You must do a lot of research and make sure that anything that you're doing aligns with those global standards. There's no easy way around it, but that's the best way to start.
Gentlemen, so much to talk about on this, but we have to anchor at this point. Mr. Olufunwa Kimade, Unity Bank's Directorate Head, Retail, SME and E-Business. Mr. Obaro Osa, Divisional Head, SME South, Bank of Industry, as well as Mr. Ajibola Majolagwe, Accelerex Network Representative. I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. The conversation continues clearly. Don't forget you have the website smegrowth.ng to, interact with us. There's that WhatsApp number as well, 0706 449 8228. And our Instagram handle, Bankers Committee FLPE. Drop your comments, questions, send us DMs. We're open, we're here to help, as it were. But that's how far we can go in today's episode of the Bankers Committee Financial Literacy Program. On behalf of the crew, Adeyemi Solomon, Christy Ankel, the engineers on duty, and those in charge of ICT, Damilola Kimpelu, Eze Foma, as well as the sound manager, Uche Enebeli, and the producer, Ondo Hemba Oyi. I'd like to thank you so much and have a profitable time. Goodbye.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.